All right, now that we have the form done in its basic shape, we're gonna make some adjustments to it. So some of the things that we can do, and basically we are in design view right now. And some of the things that we can do is actually increase this. We can change the size of the labels just to give a little bit more space. Then we can move these text fields a little bit to the right. What else? We can increase. Actually, let's increase this. Okay. And in the header, we're gonna change the name of the company. Actually, no, I'm sorry, not to change the name of the company, but change the formatting of the title. We can make it Arial. Let's make it this color, and let's give it a blue background so it could look a little bit like Facebook, maybe. Then if you would like, you could also rearrange the location of your label. So if you want to sort of group so let's say we want to isolate just the company name a little bit, so we're going to move those a little bit down. And let's say the next thing that we want to do, we want to keep the city the city zip code separately, and let's make let's bring state over here, put it right next to it. So also let's bring fax number here as well. Oh, and we need to bring the country in. Okay, all right, and the country should also be within the right here. Let's move those a little bit down. All right, so let's move those over here, and oops, I moved the country. Let's move web information a little bit here. I think this is where it belongs a little bit better. And then we have notes, so notes can go last. All right, so this is something, and we can actually maybe squeeze it a little bit. Not to take up too much space. All right, so this is the form that we've got, and you can also practice with different kinds of options. So you can right click anywhere in the form, click on form properties, and see what would you like to do. You could embed the picture, you could border view could be either none, thin, or sizable, which is sizable should be fine. Let's see. So basically, play around with the options and see which one would work for you, would make your form more readable for your users. All right, but next thing that we want to do, the next thing that we want to do is we're going to add a couple buttons to it, right? So to do that, we are going to go to the design, and then we will drop down the controls control list, and what we're looking for is this one. So this is the button. So we're going to left click and hold the sort of like draw the rectangle and then release the left button. So we drew a button that pretty much is gonna look like well, we're gonna give it a function of save, right, or submit rather. So one thing we can do right away, we can name it. So in the caption, and again, this is to the right, you see the property sheet and it says toggle button, which would be this button here. If you don't see it, let's say if it's you came to this screen, you can right click on it and select the properties, and it's actually selected for you, so it's right there. So we're gonna give it a name. We're gonna call it submit. Okay. And next thing we're going to do, we want to add so the next thing is going to be building an event. So we can right click on the button and choose build event and select the macro builder. All right. So from there, we can see what pre-programmed event can we get. That's already done for us, so we don't need to reinvent the wheel. So we're going to go into data entry operations, expand it, and select save record. Right, so we're going to save, close, and that's it. This is the button that's going to save the record or submit the record into the table. So now, what if we want another button, like let's say exit? So we're gonna select and create another button. Make it a little bit bigger because I'm gonna drag it a little bit higher. Let's call it save and submit. Save and exit. Right, I'm gonna drag this one a little bit higher and maybe resize it a little bit, sort of like this. Okay, so now they look sort of uniformal. What I want to do with this one, I want to build an event, and I want it to be also build a macro builder. So first, before I exit, I definitely want to save the record. Just in case I started typing but forgot to hit the save button, I want the record to be saved. So I'm gonna create the first action. And by the way, the run macros can house, your buttons can house multiple actions. So first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna save it. Next thing I'm gonna do, I'm going to close the form. So the second action we want our form to perform, our button to perform, is closing the form. So I'm going to select close the window. And the object is going to be a form that I want to close. And I want to select the company data. That's the only form that we have. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to keep the prompt, and that's it. I'm going to save it and close it. All right, so now if we want to view our form, let's save it. For the user, so somehow it's not cooperating. Let me see what happens. I basically had to close the, I had to save and close the database in the form. And now if I want to open the form, I need to double click on it. So now I have my data form. So I can start entering. So let's say Microsoft, cities Redmond, state Washington, quite sure what their zip code is, but let's say it's 12345 USA. And keep in mind that in many cases, you can just create drop-down boxes, drop-down lists, which will sort of like increase your data quality because the users will be forced to select instead of typing. If one will type USA, the other one will type US, third one will type United States. So in this case, it's better to limit the user's options just to have your data quality standard, right? So the website is going to be Microsoft.com. Phone number, I'm not sure what the phone number, but let's say it's 123 Payment terms, let's say every 30 days. Fax is going to be the same as the phone. And the notes. The notes, I want to include something about this company called Microsoft spoke with Bill Gates. I think they are ready to move on with the order. Let's say it's something like that. Actually, Bill Gates would not be realistic because he's no longer the chairman, but maybe there's another Bill Gates that works there. That would be interesting though. So let's click on submit. All right, so we submitted it. Now let's look if we have it recorded. And the record has been created. Great. So let's see if we can now save and exit. Okay, we exited the form and the record is in the database. Okay, so this was pretty much all I wanted to show you today. Again, I encourage you to customize, to feel better how you can build forms, what kind of options do you have. I strongly encourage you to experiment with the design. Try to include the drop-down lists, try to include other items, try to include borders, logical grouping of certain fields together, like maybe address and, you can submit it as a database, that's fine. Save it as a database and submit it for your homework assignment. If for some reason you having problems with it and you need to submit me a Word document with screenshots, that's fine. But in this case, I want you to annotate every step in a lot of detail so I could see that you understand what was happening there, what was pressed, what action did it cause, etc., etc. Okay, that's all I had, and I look forward for your submissions.